All right, next up in the welterweight division, we got Jake Matthews coming in at minus 350, taking on short notice replacement Carlston Harris, who comes in at plus 285. Now, Jake Matthews was able to put together a solid 3-fight winning streak, but for the first time in his 22-fight career, he was going to go to, or at least notch his 4th straight victory when he took on Neil Magny. He was just 2 minutes away from winning that fight after clearly going up 2-0 against Neil Magny in September. Unfortunately, Matthews slowed down. Magny was able to sink into submission and force the tap from Matthews. Now, that was a fight where we see those continuous improvements from Magny, right? Magny's a guy that's been often out-grappled and quickly submitted against a lot of his opponents, but we see when he's able to provide enough resistance, stay scrambly, stay very tough to hold down, he can cause opponents to slow down just like he did against Mike Malott and just as he did against Jake Matthews. And unfortunately for Jake Matthews, he found that out firsthand as he slowed down and eventually got caught in a submission of his own in that 3rd round. Matthews is very well-rounded, right? He started his career mainly as a grappler, looking to smother opponents on the ground and kind of keep them there, but he started to evolve his striking game where he's gone out there and outstruck guys that he, on paper, probably shouldn't. And I think being able to mix those two things together has really led to that success that he had, in that 3-fight winning streak. And the fact that he's still only 31 years old, right, it is crazy. He made his debut with the promotion back in 2014. When he was 20 years old, this guy made his UFC debut and has been fighting any and everybody that the UFC has been throwing at him. So he's a very skilled fighter, very experienced fighter as well. Can go out there and mix it up with the best of them. I know a lot of people had championship potential for this guy circled on him, but I think that started to fall off in recent years. But he's still shown that he can go out there and maintain a UFC roster spot and go out there and beat some of the better guys whenever the UFC throws them at him. Now he's going up against Carlston Harris, who hasn't fought in over a year and a half, so it's kind of surprising that he's willing to take this fight on short notice. He's 38 years old. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. Both those losses coming by knockout. The first against Chaos Williams, and then the last one against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Very unfortunate. Harris was up on one of the scorecards going into the final round as he continuously hurt Ponzinibbio throughout that fight, but was unable to finish the fight. But he's very reckless, throws a lot of power strikes. He loves the front choke series, the Darce choke, Anaconda choke. He loves the guillotine. His long, lanky frame helps him clamp onto those positions and force the type of choke that not a lot of people are able to keep up with. We saw him get Jeremiah Wells in a similar situation like that. But he's a guy, in my opinion, that's kind of overachieved in his career, and a guy that I was kind of surprised made it to the UFC, although that win that he had, I believe it was over Sajid Izagakmaev, probably butchered the guy's name. He made his UFC debut and lost to Nicholas Dalby, but the fact that Harris was able to beat that guy, and I think he even finished him as well, I think that was enough for the UFC to put him on their radar. But again, he's old now, hasn't fought in a long time, and things seem to be winding down for him, especially with him coming off of back-to-back knockout losses. Now, like I said, he's coming in on short notice here as he goes up against Jake Matthews, who's going to be looking to get back into the win column. And I think that this is a perfect matchup for Matthews to do so. I think you'll be able to counter the reckless striking approach of Harris. I think you'll be able to out-grapple Harris. And I'd kind of be surprised if Matthews gets caught in an early submission here from Harris. It's possible maybe in deep water, Harris could clamp onto something just as Neil Magny was able to do. But I don't think Harris has as good of a cardio game as Magny. And I think he'll kind of struggle to get to those positions late here against Matthews. I think there will be plenty of openings for Matthews to land big shots on Harris. And I think that will lead to an eventual knockout victory for Matthews. So I don't mind taking Matthews at chalk here. And I also think he wins this fight inside the distance.